Today we are going to talk about 6 motivation killers that artists and animators tend to face and what you can do to get back into the flow. The key for staying motivated is to understand what demotivates you, because if you know what problems you face, it's easier to find the steps that you have to take to make things get better. Let's start with the first motivation killer, which is number 1, expecting animation to always be fun. So on my research, I actually stumbled upon a very interesting article on guildguy.com, which makes the point that animation is not supposed to be always fun because it's work. We start this career out of passion. We started because we had fun watching animation as a kid, or we had fun drawing and painting. But, the truth is, to get a big project done, there are a lot of things that just have to be done that are plain hard work. We all have had those conversations where people tell us like, oh, you paint the whole day, or you draw the whole day, or you move monster pixels around the whole day. That must be so much fun. And then of course we explain to them, no, it's actually a lot of work because of this and that. But I think deep down inside, we feel guilty because, a lot of the times our work is fun. We misguide ourselves about this. For example, when we watch making ofs on DVDs and we hear these interviews from these great people that say how fun it was all the time to work on this movie. But you need to keep in mind that this is promotional material and it doesn't accurately reflect all the crisis and blood and sweat and tears that went into the making of this movie. So if you ever animate and you feel like, oh, this is not fun, it should be so much fun, it used to be so much fun, don't beat yourself up about it, because it's perfectly normal, it's work, and it doesn't have to be fun all the time. Motivation killer number 2, your work doesn't feel rewarding or purposeful. This is actually another point that the article was making that I referred to earlier. Your work isn't supposed to be fun all the time, but it should always be somewhat rewarding and purposeful. It could be that you're doing something that you are very happy with in the end. Like you really like how it turned out, you like what the story tells, you like how the animation looks, some aspect where it all comes together in the end, where you say like, all this sweat and tears, it was really worth it for this end result. This would be ideal, but of course it's not always the case. Sometimes we do stuff for the money because we have to pay rent, and usually the great passion projects don't pay the bill, or there are some gaps between the really great projects. If you do something just to earn money, animation is not necessarily the best job for it. Now, there are some great opportunities where you can make a lot of money. For example, in advertisement. Advertisement gigs usually pay pretty well, but are very, very exhausting. Yeah, the best way to motivate yourself during a production like this is to say like, well, after that, I can afford vacation or whatever you're saving up for. But if you find yourself doing animation and you're not doing it for the end product and you're also getting only very little money, you should probably consider doing something else, because you can make more money with something not animation related sometimes, and then save up to do your passion projects, or have some more time to find projects that you're really into. Another form of reward could also be that you're climbing up your ladder inside of a company. For example, if you start out as a junior animator somewhere, they will probably not give you the great acting shots right away. You have to prove yourself. So if you're sitting in front of a very boring reacting shot, or a shot where the characters are extremely far away, and you're asking yourself like, why am I doing this? I studied so long and I want to do real animation, and they give me those, that's not real acting, that's not real animation. I would tell you, just make the best out of it. Try to challenge yourself, try to make the best reaction shot, try to make the best that you can do to really impress your supervisors, and then you are in the position to ask for better shots over time. just make sure that there's one aspect that you'll find rewarding about what you do, even if you have to artificially create it for yourself. One thing about private passion projects, because that happens a lot, that people start something in their spare time and they dedicate all their evenings to it. You really sometimes need to ask yourself if it's still worth it to complete it, if it's still worth to put all these evenings in to get your passion project through. Because sometimes you should just go for the experience that you made so far and start another better project that you maybe feel more motivated to do. Let's continue with motivation killer number 3, a very repetitive task. Now, this actually is a little bit connected to the previous point. If you do a repetitive task, it should still lead up to something. Often, these are things during a production that just have to be done. The full game or the full movie couldn't work without this work put into it. This could be like inking or coloring or cleaning up the keyframes and cleaning up the curves in 3D animation. Now, these tasks aren't necessarily fun because you have to do a lot of things over and over again. But I think the key to repetitive tasks is to make them fun and give them a little bit of a challenge. And that can mean different things for different people. For me, I really like to find the more effective way to do this. Like I would see if I can solve something through scripting or, find some workflow that will speed it up. And then another thing that I very often do, if I just have to do the work, if there's no way around it, listen to a podcast or radio or music. Sometimes I would even watch a TV series that has a lot of dialogue where I don't need to look at it a lot. Just something that makes the repetition a little more fun. Motivation killer number 4, stress. Even if you work on the most amazing private passion project, you won't feel very motivated if a lot of other stuff is pressuring you. And the stress does not necessarily have to come from work. Personal problems will also lead to you not being as creative or productive. So yeah, if you run into difficult times like this, it could be very important to take care of the personal matters first, before you can be fully productive and tackle the next big project. And then if it's work related, I feel like for freelancers, a very common problem is that they take too many projects, too many gigs at once. Yeah, I did that too. My task list was so full that I couldn't, dedicate myself to a single task because I still had all the other stuff floating inside my head. And the remedy for this is very obvious. Take less jobs if you can, and organize yourself better. And there are millions of articles about how to manage stress and how to plan better. So if you feel like this is what's holding you down, this is what's demotivating you, there's a lot you can do about it, and there's a lot you can find about it. Number 5, you lack long-term motivation. Now, this is also something that can take a lot of different shapes, and it has also to do with the purpose and rewarding thing. But personally, I feel a lot better since I almost plan 2 years in advance now. I know, I don't know exactly what I'll be doing, but I roughly know what I want to do. And since I did that, I think I feel better with my current tasks because I know I can fully dedicate myself to them right now because I will be doing something else, maybe something that I've been waiting for years, in a couple of months. And a good way to organize yourself is to make long-term to-do lists. And that could actually be something that you hang up on the wall in your office so you can always see it. And you always know where you're heading to. Motivation killer number 6. You're not being good to yourself. Now, we've talked about how much work animation is. And because of this mountain of work, many of us treat themselves very badly. Like we work deep into the night, far more hours than we should. And of course, if you do that over a longer period of time, your body will punish you for that. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is actually common sense, and there are so many articles about these kind of things in the internet, but it's really true. If you don't get enough sleep, if you don't eat healthy, if you only eat fatty, greasy food, you will not feel good and you will not be as productive. If you don't take breaks, you will get slower and slower and your brain will not function anymore. If you don't drink enough water, you should always have a bottle of water in reach. This has another nice side effect too. You have to go use the restroom, which means you have to get up and walk a little bit. Yeah, all these little things can be very important and make a huge difference. There is a nice technique that I like to do. It's called the Pomodoro technique, where you work for 25 minutes. Then you have to do a 5-minute break. You need to do something else. After this 5-minute break, you work 25 minutes again, make a 5-minute break, 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes break, 25 minutes of work, and then you make a longer break. Of course, you can adjust the length of these intervals to whatever works best for you, but it really helps me. And I think when I get back from the break, I really feel like I'm fresher and faster. What I used to do a lot was actually practicing magic tricks, or sometimes I would play Minecraft, and that would sometimes take more than 5 minutes. And what I'm currently doing is what probably a lot of people are doing. I go out and play Pokemon Go. Of course, you could also do exercise in that time, or walk your dog, or call a friend you haven't talked to in a while. There's a lot of good things that you can do during these breaks. The point is just that you feel refreshed afterwards and your brain was doing something else than this task that you were sitting in front of the whole time. Okay, and let me give you another quick tip here. That was actually a problem that I had with this very video. I wanted to do it for days, and I was just like, oh, then I have to write the bullet points for this video and set up the lights, and what helps against this is actually just starting a task, because usually whatever you do is not as bad as you thought it was, and it's much worse to just postpone it again and again and again. Sometimes you just have to start something, and then it actually doesn't feel as bad as you anticipated. So get motivated by just starting something. And then another thing that can help you to get back feeling good about your job might be to actually place aside the current task that you were doing and take an hour or two to just do something really fun. Just start up your animation software and animate to music that you really like, or just start that passion project that you had in your head for a long time. Just do one shot of the short film that you want to make and see how it turns out. You might change it completely, but the important thing is that you do something with passion, that you do something that makes you feel again why you do this. Another great thing that you could do is set up a reward system for you. Like if you completed a difficult task or you reached a milestone, you could reward yourself by buying a computer game or a jacket that you wanted, or go out for dinner or go for a weekend trip somewhere. And that will also have a little bit of the break character, because you're doing something else and you go back to your work refreshed and rewarded. And then another thing that really helps me to stay motivated is something called a bullet journal. And a bullet journal is something like a calendar life planner. The special thing about it is that you don't get something where the days and everything is already printed for you, but you make your calendar to-do list tool exactly the way you want it. And I actually linked to the video where the guy who invented this system talks about exactly how it works. Yeah, look for it on YouTube. There are a lot of people coming up with their own additions to the system. Is really, really fascinating. There is something really rewarding about crossing something off a to-do list. You really feel like it's a ritual. You feel like you accomplished something, and you enjoy it for the moment where you mark something as completed, which I think is very important. So this was everything that came to my mind. If there are any tips or tricks for staying motivated that worked well for you, please let us know in the comments below. Share your experiences. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and I'm looking forward to talking to you in the next video.